But also the positive influence can be visited on the second, third, fourth generation, no telling how far. You know, I've written so far, what, about 5 books. I have a vision someday, 100 years from now, when I'm gone, somebody's up in an attic going through a box of old dusty books. And there's one of my books, Seasons of Life. Blow off the dust, say, wow, this is an interesting book. And it affects their life, and then maybe they use it as a textbook to teach other people 100 years from now, after I'm long gone. And do you know what this gives me? A chance for a little more immortality, to live on, right, in some unique manner long after I'm gone. Here's what I hope you'll find here. Number 1, sincerity. Above all else, sincerity. Because powerful things can happen when both the listener and the speaker are sincere. And I know you're sincere in being here, or you wouldn't have shelled out this kind of cash. So the pay gives some indication you're sincere. But here's more important than the pay, your time. It's one thing to ask you for your money, and it wasn't that much money, but here was the big request, to spend a couple of days. See, that's big time. Money's now small time because everybody's doing well, but here's what's big time, and that's time. So make the note, time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you can't get more time. When you spend a day, you've got one less day to spend. To ask me to come and spend 2 days at this time in my life, see, that's big time. Because how many weekends have I got left? You know, not an unlimited supply. You know, and when you get, it finally dawned on me the other day that I was now working on the second half of my life. That's an interesting revelation. I'm working on the second half. So that, you begin to realize just a weekend is very valuable because you don't have an unlimited supply. Sometimes we get faked out just by the language. Somebody says, well, I got 20 more years. Jot this down. You've got 20 more times. When you say years, it's a little bit of a fake out. If you go fishing once a year, you've only got 20 more times to go fishing. 20 more times to go fishing if you go once a year. So sometimes you get, 20 more years. No, 20 more times. 20 more times. To make each time what? Very valuable if there's a limited supply. Limited supply. So with my limited supply, these days are very valuable for me. I could be spending this time with my children, my grandchildren, and, doing something else rather than spending it with you. But this is part of my life. My family knows that this is such an important part of my life that they loan me, actually, for a couple of days. But anyway, sincerity. Here's a good point to make, though. Jot this note down. This is important. Sincerity is not a test of truth. I hope you will find me sincere. But sincerity is not a test of truth. We must not make this mistake in saying, he must be right, he's so sincere. See, that would be a mistake. Here's why. It's possible to be sincerely wrong. Sincerity is not a test of truth. Make the note, the only test of truth is truth, not sincerity. Here's as close as we can get to the truth, as we see it. That's about as close as we can get. You say, well, this is absolutely true. No, it's what you think is absolutely true. It's your perception of what might be absolutely true. It's just difficult for any one person to get to the absolute truth. But we all have an idea. We all have a perception. So I'm going to try to be as truthful as I possibly can with you today in my perception of what I think is good, what I think is a good idea, what I think is a unique idea, what I think is a workable idea. I'm going to get as close to being totally sincere in believing that I've got something valuable and good. But now, here's the ultimate. Each must judge for themselves as to the absolute truth or the truth as it may apply to you and become workable in your experiences. Because that's what we're all after, something that'll become workable in our financial experiences, in our sales experiences, in our management experiences, in our parenting experiences. in our daily living experiences. We want things that become useful and practical and that lead us from one step to the next step, that opens a door that may open a wide vista of opportunity we haven't discovered before. That's what we're all looking for.
There are two laws that you fall victim to when you fail to practice self-discipline. The first is called the law of unintended consequences. This law states that the unintended consequences of an action can be far worse than the intended consequences of that behavior because of a lack of long-term thinking. The second law is the law of perverse consequences, which says that a short-term action aimed at immediate gratification can lead to perverse or the opposite consequences from those at which it was aimed. For example, you might make an investment of time, money, or emotion with the desire and intent to be better off and happier as a result. But because you acted without carefully thinking or doing your homework, the consequences of your behavior turned out to be far worse than if you had done nothing at all. Every person has had this experience, and usually more than once. The common denominator of success. Herbert Gray, a businessman, conducted a long-term study searching for what he called the common denominator of success. After 11 years, he finally concluded that the common denominator of success was that successful people make a habit of doing the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. And what were these things? It turned out that the things that successful people don't like to do are the same things that failures don't like to do either. But successful people do them anyway because they know that this is the price they will have to pay if they want to enjoy greater success and rewards in the future. What Gray found was that successful people are more concerned with pleasing results, whereas failures were more concerned about pleasing methods. Successful, happy people were more concerned with the positive, long-term consequences of their behaviors, whereas unsuccessful people were more concerned with personal enjoyment and immediate gratification. Motivational speaker Dennis Waitley has said that the top people were those who were more concerned with activities that were goal-achieving, whereas average people were more concerned with activities that were tension-relieving. The simplest rule in the practice of self-discipline is to eat dinner before dessert. In a meal, there is a logical order of dishes, and dessert comes last. First, you eat the main courses and clean your plate. Only then do you have dessert. There's a cute but misleading bumper sticker that says, "Life is short, eat dessert first." Just think about what would happen if you came home from work and instead of eating a healthy dinner, you ate a large piece of apple pie with ice cream. What kind of appetite for healthy, nutritious food would you have afterward? With all that sugar in your stomach, how would you feel? Would you feel re-energized and eager to do something productive? Or would you feel tired and sluggish and ready to write off the day as largely finished? You get the same result when you go for a drink or two after work and then come home and turn on the television. These are simply different forms of dessert that largely eliminate your ability to do anything useful for the rest of the evening. Perhaps the worst part of all is that whatever you do repeatedly soon becomes a habit, and a habit once formed is hard to break. The habit of taking the easy way, of doing what is fun and enjoyable, or eating dessert before dinner, becomes stronger and stronger, and it leads inevitably to personal weakness, underachievement, and failure.